Ugh. So last night I drove around for what felt like forever trying to find like a decent place to park. All my pipes at the moment are currently frozen and cracked, so that means I actually haven't had a decent shower in about 3 days. And to top it all off, this morning I got woken up at 5 a.m. because drivers decided to beep their horns at me because they weren't exactly pleased that I was parked on the side of the road. Sometimes van life sucks. If you're new here, I'm Josie and I've been living in this van full-time for nearly 2 years now. I've travelled across the UK and Ireland and I've survived 2 pretty harsh winters in it. Now, I'm not saying van life is bad, you know, I chose this lifestyle, but I do think online sometimes it can look very dreamy. And yes, I know I'm a massive contributor to that kind of content, but I feel like I've seen the good and the bad side of van life. So today I just thought, you know, let's do a video about all the parts of van life that just suck. Van life totally sucks. So here are my 7 honest reasons for why van life sucks. Sometimes. I don't think anyone quite prepares you for how much your life ends up revolving around wee or water or bins. Actually, mainly bins. Bins are bloody annoying. I'm actually currently in my toilet little space now, but basically in a house, yeah, you just flush the toilet or you turn on the tap or you empty the bins outside and then you never think about it ever again. In a van, it's basically like a logistics meeting every single time you want to shower. You need to worry about like, have I got enough water? And if you haven't, where are you going to refill it? If I don't have enough, what's the plan? How long ago since I emptied the toilet? And is that about to become a situation? And yes, I do manually empty my toilet, and yes, that is about as glamorous as it sounds. I will say I'm very pleased though that I have a composting loo over a cassette toilet because cassette toilets are... Yeah, it is weirdly public, okay? So essentially I have to empty the loo and carry my situation outside, sometimes in front of everyone, to wherever I can empty it. And actually, here's a mistake I made with my toilet. So when I was choosing what to use as my wee container, I thought that it would be a good idea to use a transparent one. And my thinking behind that was because, you know, if it was about to overflow, then I would be able to see it, which would be useful and is useful. What's slightly not as useful is carrying my wee container outside across the car park in front of people to go to the empty spot and everyone being able to see inside the container, essentially see my wee, especially at certain times of the month. Yep, too much information. Okay, I said it, but we're moving on. Okay, let's talk bins, because for me, bins are definitely the most annoying. I feel like you become very aggressively aware of how much waste you produce, and it's actually quite confronting. You're like, seriously, in 24 hours, how have I made this much rubbish, you know? And I've ended up sometimes carrying around my rubbish for like, I don't know, a couple of weeks even, until I can find like a proper bin to dispose of it, really. When I say proper bin, I just mean something that's big enough and you're allowed to put your rubbish in. And sometimes proper bins are quite hard to come by, unless you go to a campsite or something like that. I guess a tip for rubbish would be just produce less waste. Easier said than done, I know. A toilet tip would be know your limits. Work out how many wees you can do until it overflows, essentially. And I guess a tip for water is I always actually try to carry a couple of bottles of water. I put them in the shower actually, just in case I, 1, run out of water, or 2, if anything happens to my plumbing system. Because if I can't make a cup of tea, that is awful, actually. I mean, don't get me wrong, all of that, you know, it isn't awful. It's just when the basic humanly functions take a little bit of admin, it can get a bit tiring. Moving on to water, electric and gas. The other thing about van life is that I feel like you're always running out of something. It's either like gas, power or water. Feels like you're living in an object that is a very small but needy thing and it constantly needs feeding all the time. So here is my little like water gauge thingamabob that I check probably not enough. I'm going to turn it on. The water level says empty, but I told you my plumbing is currently broken. I had to drain all the water. But anyway, this is how I check to see how much water I've got. But essentially, if I don't refill this, I don't have water. It's as simple as that, really. I should check this a lot more often. I have been in a pickle quite a few times by not checking my water gauge. If I don't have any water, that means I can't shower, I can't wash up, I can't have tea. So yeah, not ideal. So over here, this is like my solar kind of setup control panel system. Oh my God, my technical terms are awful, sorry. My whole power system basically depends on if the sun is cooperating or not, which is lovely on a day like today, but it's slightly harder in winter. It also means I can't park in the shade, which is problematic in summer actually, because sometimes you really feel like you are slowly melting inside a metal box. It is awful, but yeah, and all you want to do is park in the shade, but you can't because you need power, so you just melt instead. Great. And do you know what? Gas is like weirdly hard to come by. Well, in the UK anyway. It feels like LPG is some mythical creature. Literally, I've spent so many hours calling around different petrol stations going, hello, do you have refillable LPG? And no, okay, thank you, bye. It actually can be quite stressful if I've run out, because then I'm like, oh my God, where am I gonna find anything? All of the places that do refillable LPG, I've actually saved on my Google Maps because it genuinely feels like finding rare Pokemon. Pikachu? I guess it's just like constant background thinking because there is always something that needs topping up. Okay, so let's talk about parking and the fact that you're never like 100% relaxed. I feel like unless you're on private land or someone has explicitly said, yes, you're allowed to park here, there is always a little bit of a question mark with parking. Even if the park up is beautiful and the views are stunning and it feels very peaceful, there is always, you know, a voice in the back of my head going, okay, am I allowed to park here? Is anyone going to get annoyed at me for being here? Or am I actually going to get a knock on the door and be moved on? You do always constantly have to check signs and maybe Google like local rules and things like that. And I personally am always looking around to see like who's around, who's watching and who's going to get annoyed at me. And do you know what, like most of the time, like nothing happens and it is fine. In fact, I've actually never been moved on once, but I feel like you are aware, you know? And sometimes it just makes it hard to like completely switch off, basically. I mean, I've actually had a couple of really angry locals shout at me.
You are irresponsible. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Excuse me. Yeah, so for me, one of the reasons why van life sucks sometimes is that I think in the back of my head, I have a slight worry that I'm, you know, I might not be welcome. You are forever doing DIY. Okay, so another thing about van life is that your house is essentially moving all the time, and when things move, they loosen. Like literally, I feel like they unscrew themselves. So I built this bus myself, which I am very proud of, but I don't think I really thought about the fact that, you know, driving down small little British roads would basically shape my bus like a maraca. So I feel like there's something that always needs fixing or like tightening or adjusting, or whether that be a hinge, a pipe, a latch. It's not like really awful and really hard, it's just constant and ongoing. I feel like essentially you're in a long-term relationship with a toolbox. Hidden costs. It's not as cheap as you might think. Van life is often sold as, you know, like a cheaper way to live. So like no rent, no council tax, and it can sound very freeing, but I think like van life isn't very predictable, because if something goes wrong, and it can go like really wrong, it can literally cost you a fortune. For example, when my gas system failed, I was like in the Scottish Highlands in the middle of nowhere and I had to call out a gas man to me. Also, it was in the middle of the night. But anyway, it ended up costing me £1,500. I think, oh, that nearly bent. Dodgy. A dodgy match. I think, what I'm trying to say is it's not really the day-to-day costs that get you, and yes, they can be cheaper. It's, come on. No. Oh, doing really badly with the matches today. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not really the day-to-day costs that get you, because yes, it can actually be cheaper. It's more like the sudden ones, so like breakdowns, if your engine needs repairing, new batteries, they can literally cost a fortune. So yeah, I think it can be a cheaper lifestyle, but I do think it's best to have a bit of an emergency fund. If this bus breaks down, it is not just inconvenient. I mean, this is my home and I would be homeless, so that's just sucks, basically. You don't have a fixed address. Everything needs one and wants one, like a dentist, a doctor, post. I've genuinely had to order parcels to my friends and family, and then when they've come to visit me on the bus, they would bring my packages and parcels with them. Bless them, acting like my little postal service. I've actually also had to travel back to my mum's whenever I need to go to the doctors, because you can't register anywhere else because they need proof of address. The normal system just isn't set up for nomads, and you can definitely make it work. It's just a bit long and, you know, slightly ridiculous. I think the biggest surprise for me about van life is that it wasn't as carefree as it looks. It can look very spontaneous and very free and like you've got all the time in the world and you're doing whatever you want. But I would say like the reality of it has been quite a lot of planning. Things like where are you going to park, where are you going to fill up with water, where are you going to fill up with gas. I mean, even like what's the weather doing? Because that can really affect van life. If there's storms and stuff coming in or snow, you're like, oh, better avoid those mountains. Then like local rules, if you're actually allowed to park there and all those kind of things. It is just like crazy planning actually. But you know, I think stress is true for any lifestyle really. Like renting has its stresses, mortgages definitely have its stresses. And van life has its stresses, they're just different ones. You swap fuel for rent, council tax for carrying your own piss across the car park. I think van life probably isn't for everyone, but for me, all of that stuff, it is worth it. Even though it sucks sometimes, I do love it. I don't even mind really emptying my own shit. I mean, yeah, I do. It's absolutely disgusting. I really wish I didn't have to do that. But anyway, I really hope I haven't put you off van life too much. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.